What is up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about a trade that I think the Atlanta Hawks need to make that could, vault them into, playoff contention or further into playoff contention, I assume. So, first off, subscribe to the channel. I post daily sports videos covering mostly the NBA, but also occasionally the NFL, college football, and college basketball. And like the video if you enjoyed the content, helps me out a ton. And comment down below if you think this is a good trade, bad trade, all that fun stuff. Any types of constructive criticism is welcome. All right. The Atlanta Hawks need to trade for Bradley Beal. That's the, gist of this idea right here. So, in terms of the Atlanta Hawks, they're currently sixth in the East. Trae Young, he's either been an MVP candidate or, just not good at all, right? There's no in between. It is extremely inconsistent to me. John Collins is likely out of there at the end of this season. Clint Capella's going off on defense at least. It's a very, interesting team at least. That's, one thing for sure. Um, in terms of the potential trade packages, I'm gonna have to go with something that looks like John Collins, either DeAndre Hunter or Cam Reddish. Either one of those guys could fill a decent role on the Suns. Maybe Kevin Herter. I'm unsure of how you pronounce his last name. Um, he'd fill a role too. Yeku Konwu and loads of picks, right? And John Collins is going to be a must-have for the Washington Wizards, especially if they're willing to give him a max contract. Um, that lock him up for what 5 years, I believe. Having a player like John Collins, who's extremely talented, for 5 years, locked down. That's a pretty good deal right there. In terms of the younger guys, when I said all of those guys, it's not necessarily about it's not necessarily about which one. It's just that they have the option to pick any one of those guys if they want. Because none of those guys seem like they're off the Hawks trade board to me, right? Like all those guys seem like they're available. It's not like you're trading for say Trae Young or something crazy like that. No. So John Collins and picks would obviously be the main incentive here, and then one or two of those young guys would just be sweetener to the hypothetical package, if that makes any sense, right? Um, if I had to guess on who the Hawks would be most likely to trade out of that group of young guys, it'd probably be something like Onyeka and DeAndre Hunter, I guess. Onyeka just is kind of trapped honestly behind there's just such a good rotation in front of them. And mind you, if they were to trade John Collins for Bradley Beal, that might change. But as of right now, he's trapped behind Bogdanovich, John Collins, Clint Capella, Gallinari. He's just, kind of bogged down almost in the rotation, which isn't good, especially when you have, like, what, a top 10 lottery pick on your team. You don't want to be, stuck behind other guys. Right? You should be, trying to get your lottery picks tons of playing time, right? So obviously, if they were to trade John Collins, I could see him stepping into a much larger role. But if they somehow kept John Collins and acquired Bradley Beal, then why not? I guess. So lots of you maybe saying, why Bradley Beal? Trae Young is extremely talented on offense. He can do pretty good. Well, here's the deal. Okay, I think we can all more or less agree that the Hawks do need a trade, right? I don't think that with this roster currently constructed, they will do a ton of damage in the playoffs. More specifically, a trade might be needed to, maximize an asset in John Collins, right? If you know that guy's going to leave, which I think we can more or less agree that he is going to leave after this season, you need to get him out there and try and get a positive asset in, such as Bradley Beal. So that's the first part of it, right? The second part of it is the other, guy or the other guys that are widely available on the trade block aren't as incentive, laden, right? Lonzo Ball is available. Really don't think he fits on this Hawks team, right? They already have a starting point guard. LeVar Ball is kind of crazy, not gonna lie. They have Rondo, Chris Dunn. They really don't need Lonzo Ball. JJ Redick, he's another name that's been mentioned a lot. I actually did think about him, but John Collins for JJ Redick, unless there was some pick incentives in there, that's not an amazing trade, right, for the Hawks. So I shut down both of those ideas. So then it became an idea of how can the Atlanta Hawks get a positive asset that's, actually worth it, that's not going to leave. Because I feel like JJ Redick could possibly retire, honestly, at the end of this season. I mean, dude's getting old. And even though he still has it in 3-point shooting, ages very well, he might just, want to spend time with his family or something like that. Anyways, long story short, Bradley Beal is just the best, guy out there. Pure scorer, basically, at this point. Literally everything, more or less, for that Washington team with him and Westbrook. It's just kind of sad, honestly. Like, I want that man out of Washington so bad. I'm a Miami Heat fan, and honestly, I want him on the Miami Heat a ton, but as long as he's out of Washington, I'm happy for him. Okay? Um, so I think this trade would work, right? Now, there are some issues with this, as with every trade. There's never going to be a surefire trade. Trae Young's playstyle has, aggravated people before. It aggravated Clint Capella and John Collins, I believe, in a meeting. So that's one issue there. Um, Now, here's the deal, right? If Bradley Beal comes in, he's going to be the, number one guy. Because, he is the number one guy. Trae Young is good. Trae Young is a very good basketball player. But Bradley Beal is on Mars right now in terms of scoring, right? There's no one even close to him. Kevin Durant's the second leading scorer. And I want to say KD trails by like 4 points from Bradley Beal. This man is going off right now, right? And obviously, Trae Young, amazing 3-point shooter, subpar on defense due to height. Um, Bradley Beal also somewhat subpar on defense. And that is an issue right there with this trade. Defense would not be ideal. So, in terms of, like just other shooting guards, however, that are available, there's no one that's really ideal on defense, right? You're never going to be able to find a perfect fit. Um, Now, why would this trade actually, succeed? Especially long term in the playoffs, because they're not selling out their defensive soul, right? Look at the Nets. The Nets gave up Jared Allen, who is, extremely good on defense, for James Harden, who is not very good at defense at all, right? Now we're going to assume that in this scenario, the Hawks are able to keep Clint Capella, right? That still leaves them with a pretty, good big man down low that can defend fairly well, right? Say what you want about, Clint Capella, but he is pretty good at blocking shots. I think we can all agree on that. Blocking shots, getting rebounds. It's really all they need him to do, quite honestly. Um, Rondo, another guy that I mentioned. Talked about him a little bit. Amazing, defender. He's not what he used to be. I'll give him. He's not what he used to be. I will say that. But when the playoffs come, he can, turn it on another switch, right? So that's about it. Quite honestly. And Chris Dunn, he's another guy. I'm not entirely sure how many minutes he gets. Not gonna lie. But I do know he is pretty good at defense. That's probably the only reason why he's still in the NBA. The NBA, to be completely honest, is because of his defense. So that was that. Yeah. If y'all enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post daily, as mentioned before. Like the video. Tell me down in the comments below what you would think about this trade. As I said before, it's partially about maximizing an asset and partially about attempting to make the playoffs, like, and do damage in the playoffs. Hashtag free Bradley Beal. Yeah, y'all have an amazing day.